Most people think money is hard because the system is rigged. They think inflation, bad bosses, or unlucky timing are the real problem. But after watching investors for decades, one truth becomes obvious. Money is only hard if you keep making the same basic mistakes. Charlie Munger spent more than 70 years studying why people stay broke, not why markets crash, not why economies fail, but why intelligent people sabotage themselves financially. And what he discovered was uncomfortable. Most people don't fail because they lack opportunity. They fail because they repeat 3 mistakes so consistently that money never gets a chance to grow. Here's the part nobody likes to hear. If you remove just 3 behaviors from your life, earning money would feel lighter, calmer, almost boring, not exciting, not dramatic, but predictable. And predictable is how wealth is actually built. This isn't about motivation. It's not about grinding harder or chasing side hustles. It's about stopping actions that quietly drain you every year. In this series, we'll break down the 3 mistakes that keep people financially stuck, mistakes that feel normal, responsible, even smart, but compound against you over time or rig these mistakes, and money stops feeling like a fight. Let's start with the first one. The first mistake is subtle, but it destroys more wealth than bad investments ever could. Confusing activity with progress. Most people feel productive because they are busy, they work long hours, they read finance posts, they talk about investments, but none of that guarantees progress. Okay? Charlie Munger warned that motion can feel like achievement even when you're standing still. Here's how this mistake shows up. Someone earns decent money but never tracks where it goes. They switch strategies every year, new business idea, new investment trend, new once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. It feels intelligent. It feels adaptive, but in reality, it resets the compounding clock to 0 again and again. So, wealth is built by doing fewer things, not more, but doing them consistently for a long time. Busy people mistake effort for results. Calm people build systems. If your income rises but your net worth doesn't, this mistake is already costing you years. Before learning how to make more money, you must learn how to stop leaking it through constant change. So that's the first trap, and almost everyone falls into it. Here's why the first mistake is so dangerous. It doesn't look like failure. It looks like responsibility. People tell themselves, I'm learning, I'm staying flexible. Okay? I'm being smart by adapting, but Munger understood something most people miss. Constant change feels safe because it avoids commitment, and avoiding commitment avoids short-term discomfort. Sticking to one plan forces you to face boredom, doubt, periods where nothing exciting happens. So people escape, they sell too early, they quit too soon. They restart instead of staying, and every restart quietly erases years of potential compounding. Think about it. Someone invests for 2 years, sees slow results, and switches strategies. Another person stays for 20 years. The difference isn't intelligence, it's tolerance for nothing happening. Wealth rewards patience more than brilliance. That's why most people never get rich. Not because they make terrible choices, but because they abandon good ones too early. If money feels exhausting in your life, ask yourself this simple question, how often do I reset my own progress? Because every reset delays freedom. The second mistake is even more common and more expensive. Listening to people who have no skin in the game. Most financial advice doesn't come from experience. It comes from opinions, friends, relatives, online voices who sound confident but risk nothing. Munger believed this was dangerous because advice is cheap but consequences are personal. Here's how this mistake plays out. Someone warns you not to invest because they are afraid. Someone tells you to play safe because they never took risks. Someone discourages long-term thinking because they want quick comfort. And slowly your financial decisions stop being yours. You begin optimizing for approval instead of outcomes, But wealth doesn't respond to consensus. It responds to discipline. The people who build wealth quietly often look boring to outsiders. No drama, no stories, just steady behavior repeated for years. If you let fearful voices guide your choices, you inherit their limits. Before trusting advice, ask one question: what has this person actually built? Because borrowed fear is one of the fastest ways to stay average. Let me show you how this second mistake quietly destroys people's financial lives. It doesn't happen overnight. It happens slowly, and that's why it's dangerous. You hear someone say, don't invest now, the market might crash. So you wait, months pass. Then years. The market rises, but you're still waiting for the perfect time. That perfect time never comes. Another person says, starting a business is too risky, so you stay in a job you hate, hoping for security that never actually arrives. Here's the irony. By listening to people who avoid risk, you take the biggest risk of all, doing nothing. So Munger understood this deeply. He believed in rational courage, not reckless behavior, not blind optimism, but the courage to act when the odds are in your favor, even if others are afraid. So, most people outsource their thinking because thinking is uncomfortable, but wealth is built by people who are willing to think independently and act patiently. If you want different results, you cannot copy the emotional habits of average people. That's the real cost of mistake number 2. Now we reach the third mistake. This one is more subtle than the first two and far more destructive. Mistake number 3 is this: confusing intelligence with wisdom. I've seen brilliant people stay poor their entire lives. Doctors, engineers, thus PhDs, high IQ, low net worth. Why? Because intelligence tells you what is possible, but wisdom tells you what to avoid. Most people believe money is made by being smart. That's wrong. Money is made by not doing stupid things consistently. Munger used to say that avoiding stupidity is easier than trying to be brilliant. People blow up financially not because they lack information, but because they ignore basic rules. They chase hot stocks. They use leverage they don't understand. They follow trends instead of probabilities. Being smart makes them dangerous because they can justify bad decisions with clever logic. Wisdom is boring. Wisdom is slow. Wisdom says no far more often than it says yes. And that's exactly why it works. If you want money to become easy, you don't need more ideas. You need fewer mistakes. Let me tell you exactly who loses money over and over again. It's not the poor, and it's not the uneducated. It's the emotional, the people who panic when prices fall and get greedy when prices rise. They buy because everyone else is buying. They sell because everyone else is afraid. The market doesn't punish ignorance. It punishes emotion. That's why average investors buy near the top and sell near the bottom. They react instead of thinking. Munger avoided this by doing something simple that most people refuse to do. He waited. He didn't trade. He didn't chase headlines. He didn't check prices every day. He waited for clear opportunities with unfair odds in his favor. This is why patience is not a virtue in investing. It's a weapon. If you can control your emotions, you automatically outperform most people, because most people can't. Here's the mental shift that changes everything. Money becomes easy the moment you stop trying to be right and start trying to not be wrong. Most people ask, what's the next big opportunity? That's the wrong question. The right question is, what mistakes would destroy me if I repeated them for years? Munger built wealth by building systems that prevented stupidity. He avoided debt he didn't understand. He avoided businesses he couldn't explain simply. He avoided people who lied to themselves. This created something powerful, predictable results. Wealth is not built by excitement. It's built by repeatable behavior. If you remove the biggest mistakes, average decisions compound into extraordinary outcomes. That's why for disciplined people, money doesn't feel stressful. It feels boring. And boring is exactly what works. Let me give you a real example. Two people, same age, same income. Person A is always searching for excitement, new investments, hot trends, fast money. Person B does something boring. He saves consistently. He avoids debt. He invests in simple, understandable assets. After 5 years, person A has great stories, big wins, big losses. But his net worth hasn't moved. Person B doesn't talk much about money, but his net worth keeps climbing. Not because he's smarter, but because he's consistent. This is the part people don't want to accept. Wealth doesn't reward intelligence, it rewards discipline. And discipline feels uncomfortable at first because it denies your ego. You don't get applause for being patient. You don't get attention for being boring. But you get something far more valuable results. Now, here's the harsh truth. Most people fail because they ignore three simple mistakes. Mistake one, living beyond your means. You spend more than you earn and wonder why money never grows. Mistake two, chasing shortcuts. You think hot tips, trends, or get-rich-quick schemes will save you. They won't. They only teach you the hard way. Mistake three, ignoring compounding early. You delay investing your time, your money, your skills. Every year wasted costs far more than you imagine. Ignore these mistakes and money becomes easy. Fail at them and no plan will ever help. Now ask yourself, which mistake are you making right now? Be honest. Identify it and fix it before the year ends. This is the moment where everything changes if you act. Okay? Now let's take action. Step one, cut the unnecessary. If you're spending on things you don't need, stop immediately. Step two, increase your income, side hustle, freelance work, anything that grows cash flow fast. And step three, invest in yourself, skills, knowledge, tools. These are the only investments that pay guaranteed returns. Step four, build a small emergency fund. Even Eastling gives you breathing room and confidence. Step five, start compounding early, and whether it's investing, saving, or learning. Time is your greatest ally. Do these 5 things, and the mistakes we talked about earlier lose all power. Ignore them, and you're back to square one. All right? The difference between success and failure is doing what most people refuse to do consistently. This is it, the final piece. Remember, mistakes compound faster than money. Every poor decision, every delayed action, every excuse sets you back. But here's the truth. Success is simple if you follow the right steps. Stop wasting time. Start small, but start now. Take the lessons from this video, cut unnecessary expenses, increase income, invest in yourself, and protect your money. By next year, you'll look back and see the transformation. You'll be ahead of 500 choices of people your age. Most people wait for the perfect moment. There isn't one. Today is your moment. The 3 mistakes we discussed, avoid them. Everything else will fall into place. You have control. So you can make money simple if you act consistently, start immediately, and refuse to repeat the same mistakes. Your financial future is built one decision at a time. Make the first one today.